Hello, my name is FPL Pickle and welcome back to another video. So today we have my Game Week 5 team selection video, and for those of you who weren't here last week, I'm currently in the middle of quite an intense exam season, so I've cut my videos to just 1 week and I'm kind of combining all the videos that I do into one. So what we'll do today is talk about the team that I'm looking at for Game Week 5, I'll discuss some players that I would either punt on or avoid for the upcoming game week, and I'll also talk about some Pickles predictions that I have for the upcoming game week. So if you enjoyed today's video, please give the video a like and please consider subscribing as well. I'd really appreciate the support. But before we dive into Game Week 5, I thought I'd quickly share with you how I did in Game Week 4. So I got 62 points overall, not too bad. It was basically a grey arrow, went from 6 mil to 5.8, so not much progress, but at least we haven't gone backwards. And I think overall, it was the defenders this week that actually saved my game week. So Anderson with a 10-pointer, clean sheet, got DEFCON as well, and 2 bonus, I believe. So very happy with that. I basically picked him for that game, so I'm happy that he actually performed. Konza was one that I was surprised at. With Villa, to be honest, I'm not really expecting clean sheets at this point. And in hindsight, Konza was not the best pick. He's terrible for DEFCON and, he's continued to prove that. But a clean sheet nonetheless, so I'm happy with it. And Pedro Porro as well, the clean sheet. Sadly didn't get DEFCON, but you know what? The defenders this week did very, very well. I feel like people who went 4 at the back or even 5 at the back did very, very well this week. So we're starting to see that there's a lot more upside to the defenders now compared to before, especially because I feel like there's less attacking defender options compared to the past, like the likes of Trent are no longer there. So yeah, we'll have to think about that a little bit more. We'll talk about that a little bit more later as well. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Salah got lucky, last minute goal, well, a penalty. Other than that, he was basically ghosted in that game, didn't provide anything. He played better last night against Atletico Madrid, so that was positive to see. But yeah, if it wasn't for that penalty, he would have got absolutely nothing. So I'm very relieved, especially when Haaland, continues to play very, very well. And, ended the game week on a little bit of a sour note. I was on a much bigger green arrow, but then Haaland came and scored a couple of goals. So, yeah, it is what it is, but it's Haaland at the end of the day. And we'll have to think about potentially pivoting to him soon. But yeah, Pedro Porro got a very lucky assist as well. I just feel like other than the defenders, with any of the points that I did get, I was quite lucky. But yeah, the rest of them, like Fernandes, Wirtz, Rodgers, Reinders, Watkins, rubbish again. Villa are very much concerning me. We haven't scored a single goal yet. And yeah, it's hurting me to say the least as a Villa fan. But it's Sunderland away next, so I feel like I want to hold out hope. But I don't want to be too stubborn about it, so we'll have to see. But yeah, that's how the team did. In terms of the bench at least, I made the right decision, but the bench looked pretty terrible anyway. So yeah, overall it wasn't too bad, but I really need to make a bit more progress because this is not where I want to be. We're still very early on in the season, but 5.8 mil is not acceptable, guys. So we're going to have to try and do something about it very soon, and we will discuss that very soon in the video. But first of all, I'm just going to go through how my Pickles predictions did in Game Week 4. So for those of you who are new around here, in my Pickles preview video that I normally do, I come up with some predictions each game week. And the first 2 game weeks, I was on a roll. Like I got 1 right each week. But the last 2 game weeks, it's been a little bit of a flop. Last week, I felt like a lot of my predictions were quite close, but unfortunately this week I think they were just a little bit of a fail. So the first one being King would get his goal against Leeds. Unfortunately, he came off quite early, I think like the 59th minute. I think it was 0.01 XGI, so unfortunately wasn't very close to getting a goal, I believe. And then the second one was a complete fail. He wasn't even in the squad, so yeah. I nearly put that it would be Palmer that will get subbed on and score. And yeah, that one would have actually been right, but yeah, it is what it is. And then the third one, Sunderland will beat Crystal Palace. To be fair, it was a draw, but yeah, not quite right. So we'll have to see how they go this game week. I feel like the ones I've come up this game week are a little bit more juicy, so stay tuned later on in the video where I show those to you. But yeah, if I get more than 10 right across the season, I'll be donating £100 to a charity of your choice. So if you have any charities in mind, please comment them down below. I'd be really interested to hear. But yeah, hopefully we can build up the tally a little bit more soon. But to be fair, we're a fifth of the way already and there are many more game weeks to go. So I'm happy with the progress, but hopefully in Game Week 5 we can get one more right. But yeah, let's now talk about my team for Game Week 5. So starting off with the defenders then, you can see that I've currently got 4 at the back, which is not something that I've done for a very long time, I'll be honest. There was a time back in the day where I used to love a 4 at the back, but yeah. You know, previously to this season, it never really felt like an optimal way to play, but we've seen, especially last game week, how well defenders can do. And especially recently, the defenders have been outperforming the attackers by quite a mile, honestly. I know that there's the likes of SEMENYO, which we'll talk about later, who I do not have. But yeah, I think these defenders, they could be better. I mean, I know there's cons there. People are going to be judging me right now, but it's Sunderland away. I feel like I should be playing him, you know what I mean? I've got Sanchez against Man United away, or Dubravka against Nottingham Forest at home. I've got Sanchez in at the moment, but I do, it's conflicting both ways, because I do, spoiler alert, I have Fernandez, but I also have Williams, as you can see. So I am kind of wondering whether to start Dubravka instead and kind of hope that the Burnley Forest game is more of a 0-0 situation, but I kind of doubt it's going to go that way, honestly. So I think I'll keep it with this like this for now. And then in terms of the defenders, yeah, I mean, you'll see my attackers later on. They're not amazing. And I just think that, you know, I've got a pretty good choice of defenders right now, and I think it just feels worth playing them all. It doesn't really feel good benching any of these. I mean, let me know what you think down in the comments, whether you think I should be starting any of my other players ahead of them, like you'll see later. But yeah, Anderson against Brentford at home, I think it's a pretty good fixture. Anderson's continues to be good for DEFCON. I think he could accumulate DEFCON here, and there is always the chance that he could get a cheeky header or something, so I always hold out hope for that. And then Pedro Porro against Brighton away. Arguably not the best fixture, I guess, and he's no longer on set pieces really, with Xavi Simons being around, but I don't know, it never feels good benching Porro to me, so I want to start him. And then the likes of Williams and Konza. Now, despite the fixtures being so nice, I feel like if I was going to bench anyone, it would probably be either of these two. But again, with the potential of, you know, what defenders can accumulate, I just feel like it's not worth benching any of these players at the moment. I can't imagine Cons is going to get much from this game, but I don't know. I just, you know, I've got him. I don't really feel the need to transfer him out right now. And so I just feel like it's worth keeping him for this. And same with Williams. Forest have been dreadful lately, to be fair. Bliss Burnley away, I think it's a good fixture to target. It feels silly to bench him. So again, let me know what you think. I guess you'll see the rest of my team in a little while, but do you think it's worth going with a 4 at the back, or do you think it's still worth going for the 3-5-2 formation, for example? You have to let me know. So this is my midfield. So as you can see, I'm going for a 4-4-2 formation at the moment. So we got Salah, Fernandez, Rodgers and Wirtz. So Salah captain. I think Salah's a standout captain this week. I'm happy that I have him just for that anyway. Obviously, before last night, even that didn't really feel great, but seeing him, you know, be more involved and actually get something from open play, that's made me feel better about it, and now I feel quite happy that I've got Salah going into this game week. Fernandez, I mean, it's not a great fixture, and Man United have been terrible, but they've got Brentford and Sunderland coming up, so I'm happy to keep for now. I don't feel like he's worth transferring out. And he's a little bit of a differential, so, you know, got to hope that there's maybe a pen or he does contribute something. It's a shame that Cunha's out, because I do feel like that has had an impact, and Sesko's not looked very convincing at the moment, but we'll see. And then Rodgers and Wirtz, so I guess if there's anywhere that I may potentially make transfers, it might be here. I know that you guys are probably thinking, why do you still have Rodgers? But again, Sunderland, Fulham and Burnley coming up, he doesn't feel like a priority for me to get rid of. And I know that Villa have been terrible, I know. But I guess I'm holding out hope a little bit. And for me personally, I feel like if I'm going to transfer out anyone, it's going to be Wirtz. Because, you know, he continues to fall in price and he has just not been convincing to me at all. In hindsight, it wasn't a good pick. And it wasn't a very me pick either. And I guess holding out hope that he would do well. But yeah, he just doesn't look... I don't know, he looks like he wants to assist, but there's been so many chances where he could have just taken a shot and he just doesn't, and it's quite frustrating to watch. And Everton's not the best fixture in the world anyway. I'm not captain in Salah, but Everton have been quite a good defence. It's going to be quite an intense game as a Merseyside derby, so we'll see. But I think we'll discuss a little bit later, but I think if I'm going to make any moves at all, I think he will be the player that I'll take out. But there is that part of me that still kind of wants to roll. Because as we'll discuss later, I am planning to get Haaland in for game week 6 with some free transfers, and I guess having the more free transfers the better. And with the options that I'm thinking of, they don't feel like insanely good upgrades, but I'm still kind of tempted to remove him, so we'll talk about it a little bit more later. But yeah, that's how we're looking at the moment in terms of the midfield. So here's the whole team for game week 5 as it stands. We got Watkins up front and João Pedro. I mean, João Pedro's EO is so high. I think I'm just happy to have him anyway. He went up in price again. He's 7.8 mil now. So at least there's getting a bit of team value from somewhere. Because if you look at the rest of my squad, like Fulkrug, Watkins, Verts, like my team value is in the bin. So yeah, I'm happy with that at least. And I'm happy to have him for Man United, to be honest. Because Man United haven't been overly convincing. And Watkins, yeah, triple Villa, I know you're all laughing at me, but it's Sunderland away. It just feels silly to remove them right now, as bad as they've been. Watkins got a pen, well, took a pen earlier on in the week, and at least he scored it, but we still lost, so that was fun. But yeah, I just don't feel like it's a priority for me. I think Vert, I feel like I've just got so many bad players. I've still got Fulkrug sat there and everything. I think like Verts is probably the one that I want to get rid of first. No pun intended. But yeah, looking at the bench, Fulkrug. I mean, I could play Fulkrug. Someone did suggest that. But one, I'm not entirely sure how fit he is at the moment, and two, Crystal Palace for a good defence. I'm just not convinced by West Ham's attack. So I'll think about it, but I just think in terms of upside, I feel like the defenders somehow are going to provide more upside for me. You guys let me know what you think about that. And then Reinders is on the bench as well. It's Arsenal away. Again, I could play him as well, but it doesn't feel great. Although I guess I could back against Arsenal defence there, being as I don't have them. So yeah, that's how the team's lining up. I'll be honest, I don't feel amazingly confident about this week. It's not the best team by any means. Some people were asking me, like, why don't you just wildcard? But for me personally, I don't feel like Game Week 5 is a great week to wildcard. So I'm going to hold off for now, and I'll discuss what potential transfers I'm making or potentially making in Game Week 5, and then I'll talk a little bit about what my moves will be going forward. So before we move on to my transfer plans, I'd just like to thank Club for sponsoring this video. And for those of you who do not know, Club is a fantasy football mobile game that provides a really nice spin on fantasy football, I think. And I've been playing it for quite a long time now, and I'm actually part of the game now, which is really cool. But I've had a few questions from people, understandably, about downloading Club at this point now, because obviously in FPL, if you joined at this point, it wouldn't be ideal in terms of doing well. But in Club, the good thing about it is that because it's based on weekly head-to-head leagues, it doesn't really matter when you start. It's more just if you do well in that game week, then that's how you progress. So no matter when you join, it doesn't really matter. You download it, you have the time to build up your team, and then you go ahead someone each game week. And if you do well in that game week, then that helps you progress. And I'll even show you in my league. It's sorted across who does well in who's done well in the previous game week. So the person who's at top for game week 4, they're not doing the best overall across the season, but they're still at the top of the league. So I think that is quite refreshing, and it allows you to play in a little more of a casual way. So I wouldn't let that discourage you from downloading it. I think it could still be a really fun game for you if you want to try something a little bit different. I'll show you who I've got this coming game week. So this is the team that I'm going ahead this game week, and you know what, it's quite a strong team, and I would like to bounce back a little bit because, to be honest, I lost my last one. So this is the team that I've got going into game week 5, and you know what, I'm pretty happy with it. Got a couple of cheeky players on loan. I've seen that my opponent also has Rodgers on loan. Got Anderson on loan too, but yeah, I'm fairly happy with my team as well. Got quite a few players on the bench too, and I am exceeding my salary cap, but not to worry, I'm currently updating that. You can see that there's people like Harry in the game as well. And I'm currently updating my salary cap to 27.5 mil. So hopefully by the time it's the deadline, I should have enough money and I should be able to get Watkins points. So guys, if you are interested in giving club a go, then please click the link down below in the description. And if you'd like to join my league, the Pickle League, then the code is 8CVY7QL. I'd like to get to around 500 people. That's my current aim. So yeah, thank you so much, club, but for now, let's move on to my transfer plans. So looking at some potential transfers that I could make in Game Week 5, like I mentioned, I think if I'm going to take anyone out this week, it's probably going to be Verts. And these are currently the potential options I'm looking at. And the more I look at this, the more I'm thinking, do any of these seem like massive upgrades to me? I'm not entirely sure. I'll be honest, guys, because of my exams, I haven't been watching quite as much football, but apparently last night, Isak started, and apparently the partnership between Isak and Verts looked a lot more promising. Still nothing really came out of it, but I do wonder, like, if Isak does start against Everton, which he could, is this going to be the game week where Verts gets something? And the thing is, at my rank, should I be trying to pick players solely because of EO? Because that's kind of how I feel with Semenyo right now. You can see that his ownership is now 40.6%, and that is scary to me. Like, it really is scary. And I definitely want him in game week 6 against Leeds. But Newcastle at home, it's just not the best fixture. Like, Newcastle defensively have been quite good. So I am tempted, to be fair, but I just don't know whether it's worth doing right now. And then the potential other options are maybe going for a Spurs attacker instead, because I think, I'll show you in a little while, but I think basically what I want to do is I'm going to get either Semenyo and Xavi or Semenyo and Kudus. I'll be getting them either way in game week 6. It's just whether I get one now and get the other in game week 6, or I just get them both in game week 6 along with Haaland. In terms of the Spurs attackers, we've got Xavi and Kudus. I think the Brighton fixture looks a little bit better. It feels like a better one to target. I mean, Xavi and Kudus are both on set pieces, but Xavi is coming off a little bit earlier. Like, Kudus does seem more nailed, and is getting those 90 minutes. However, he is showing a lot less attacking threat, I suppose. I feel like they're both showing more creative threat, if anything, but I feel like if anyone is going to get a goal, it's probably going to be Xavi. Again, though, he's quite a new player, and it's just whether I'm convinced enough or not. Basically, I'm in a pickle, guys. I'm in a pickle. I'm not sure, I'll be honest. But I think if I'm going to make a move at all, it's going to be either Verts for Semenyo, Xavi, or Kudus. Let me know down in the comments whether you think any of these are worth it for this game week, or if you do think so, which one should I go for? Bear in mind that I am probably going to get one or the other in the game week afterwards, because they both have good fixtures. So yeah, that's currently the plan. I could potentially look at getting rid of Rodgers, but if I do that, I can't afford Semenyo then. It'd have to be one of the Spurs attackers. So yeah, I'm stumped, guys. I'm stumped. It doesn't help that I'm not really in the FPL mindset right now, because I'm thinking about other things. So like, I haven't spent as much time really thinking about it compared to usual, but I have thought about it a little, don't you worry. So what I'll do now, I'll talk through what I'm kind of thinking for the next few game weeks and how I might go about using my chips, because let's not forget, I haven't used any chips yet. So compared to a lot of people, that we've got a lot to, use. So we'll have a look now. So shout out to FPL team, Peter, he does a great job. I love using this site. I've used it for a long time and use it quite regularly. But yeah, I thought I'd show you what I'm currently thinking of doing. I must admit, I'm not one to have really solid plans all the time, but I've got something in mind for the next few game weeks. So I think in terms of transfers, like I said, if I'm going to get rid of anyone, it's probably going to be Verts. And let's say we get rid of him for Semenyo for now. We saw that Semenyo was on the pen, by the way, which was surprising. But I don't feel like, I think Kluivert is back, so I'm not entirely convinced that that's going to continue. But nevertheless, this could be what I do. And it doesn't feel like a great upgrade, but we may do that, we may not. But anyway, let's say that we do that for now. And then going into game week 6, I then have 2 free transfers to use. And here, this is where I'm thinking that I want to get Haaland. So we'll get Rodgers out, put Reinders in there, And then what I'm thinking of doing is, let's move those across. I'm thinking of doing Fulkrug to Haaland and then Salah. So let's say I've got SEMENYO, so I'll put Xavi in, for example, now. Oh, if it will let me. 1 second. Okay, sorry, we got the keyboard back. That happened last time. Gosh, I always forget to check that before we start recording. But yeah, let's say we've got Xavi in there now, and I would obviously captain Haaland. This is what the team would look like. It doesn't look bad. I think it looks pretty good. I don't feel like this needs a wild card. But what I'm potentially thinking of doing is using my triple captain. That's not how you do it. I nearly said my real name then. Right. I'm thinking of potentially triple captain in this game week, because then I feel like that is me going against the free hitters, the wild carders. I'm at least using something to try and get ahead of people. I feel like I did this exact thing last season. It didn't go that well. But I feel like with the form that Haaland's in, this could be a good opportunity to use it. So that's what Game Week 6 looks like. What do you think, guys? Let me know. I think this looks quite nice. I'm pretty happy with that. And then Game Week 7 still looks pretty good, to be honest. I mean, in terms of moves, I could potentially get like Gyökeres, for example, or even like an Eze. I haven't thought about that too much yet. Even worst case though, I could just roll and it doesn't look overly bad to me. Could maybe start Dubravka, but then I've got triple Villa again, so maybe not. But yeah, again, this doesn't look too bad. I could maybe wildcard here, but I think I'd want to hold off a little bit longer. And then Game Week 8, this is where I think if I'm going to wildcard, I think this is when it will be. So that's currently what I'm thinking. So I've planned a little bit ahead. Let me know what you think about this strategy. It's not fully set in stone, but I think based on how my team is looking at the moment, I'm quite happy with this. I'd feel quite confident going into Game Week 6 looking like this. You know, a couple of differential players there. Going against the crowd a little bit. I think, you know, having no Arsenal's not amazing, but it's not the end of the world. But yeah, I'm fairly happy with it. Let me know what you think. If you think that there's a better way to go about this, let me know. Or if you think even just wildcarding in 6 might be the better play, let me know. But yeah, that's what I'm currently thinking. But let's move on to my Pickles Punts for Game Week 5. So this is my Pickles Punts section, which is normally my Pickles preview, where I talk about players that I would potentially take a chance on in the upcoming game week. And the first one that I want to talk about is Enzo Fernandez. I feel like this guy's not been talked about enough. I think, I'm not gonna lie, based on what happened to me last season when I owned Enzo, I just thought I'm going to avoid him. But, you know, 2 double-digit hauls already, continues to rack up DEFCON. I just think he provides such good value for money, 6.6 million. I think especially if you're fancying another Chelsea player but you can't afford Palmer right now, I think that he could be such a good option. And it's one that I've potentially thought about, but you know, I am kind of tempted, but I think with the Liverpool fixture, I'm not so sure. But if you have the ability to bench him, then I really quite like him as an option going forward. Because, you know, other than that Liverpool fixture, the fixtures are really good for Chelsea still. So even, you know, if you're fancying other forwards and you feel like, even though JP's such high EO, you're not that convinced by him and you want another Chelsea player, I think that Enzo Fernandez could be the way to go. So he's one of my punts for Game Week 5. And then Xavi Simons, I talked a little bit about him in my potential transfer plans. I think that he could be a very nice option going forward. Seems to be a little bit more of a creative player, but I think he does have that goal threat compared to likes of Kudus. Obviously a little bit more expensive, but 7 mil, so not too bad. And I think Brighton, they've not been amazing, so I'd be quite happy to have him. I'll be honest, I think in terms of players this week, the pool of options don't feel as fast, I suppose. So coming up with punts was a little bit more difficult, I'll be honest with you. But I think Enzo and Xavi are really good. And then in terms of defenders, I think Chris Richards continues to be a really good differential. And I understand why quite a few content creators have him. You know, West Ham away is a very good fixture, and he even scored the other night. I could see him get an attack in return against West Ham. They've been pretty dreadful. So I think, if you want to hedge your bets a little bit against a Gay, for example, or even Munoz, if you need someone a little bit cheaper, I think Palace defenders are a good fit team to target. Not target, but you know what I mean. There's a couple of bad fixtures coming up, like Liverpool and Arsenal. But other than that, the fixtures around it are quite good. And I think just at least to have on your bench, he could be a really nice option. But, if I had Chris Richards this week, I'd be very tempted to play him. And I'm quite jealous that I don't have him. So if you are looking for a cheaper defender coming up, I like Chris Richards. So now we'll talk about the players that I'd maybe avoid for Game Week 5. So these are the players that I'd potentially avoid going into Game Week 5, and I feel like the last one especially is probably a little bit controversial, but I'll explain a little bit why I think this in a bit. But we'll first talk about Harvey Elliott. So he's signed for Villa. I'm very excited about him as a player, and I hope to see more of him. He scored not too long ago, but I think even at 5.4 million, I've seen that some people have kind of hedged on him early, with the hopes he could become a really good option that he'd be starting. But I just think it's too early to go for him right now. As nice as the fixtures look, Villa have not looked good at all. We're not really gelling together. I don't really know what's going on. It is concerning me, but I just think as good as Elliott is as a signing, I don't know whether he's absolutely nailed on to start right now. I still feel like we need time to see how Emery is going to line up. So that's personally why I'd avoid. I'm hoping in the future he could become such a good cheap option for us in the midfield, but for now it's too early to go for him, I'm afraid, even with the likes of Sunderland, Fulham, Burnley coming up. We'll see, but yeah, I just don't think it's worth it right now. And then Richarlison, not the same thing, but he's just not starting every game, as nice as the fixtures do look. Tell's there. He's just not got consistent minutes. And I think I understand why people might want to go for him because, he's quite a cheap option in the forward line. And it'd make things easier for us, especially with the likes of Palmer coming back. But yeah, I just don't think it's worth it, unfortunately. It's a shame. There's not really any good cheap forward options anymore. It felt like there was a bit of a pull going on at the start of the season, but at the moment it's kind of the expensive options and that's it. And then Van de Ven, this seems like a strange one, doesn't it? But for me, it's just personally, I'd maybe consider getting him if you need a cheaper defender soon, but I just don't think this is the week to get him. And my reasoning behind this is that Spurs have been quite lucky defensively, shall we say. They've been overperforming defensively, and I could see Brighton scoring in this game, and Van de Ven's not going to be scoring every single game, so I understand why a lot of people have hopped on in. I'd maybe consider from from Wolves at home onwards getting him, but I just don't think this is the game week to get him. So I'm not saying like don't buy Van de Ven ever, but I just don't think this is the game week to go and buy him. I think there are potentially better options out there that you could go for, especially even for DEFCON as well. So yeah, let me know what you think about those options. Especially with Van de Ven, do you disagree with me on that, or do you agree? You'll have to let me know. But for now, we'll go on to my Game Week 5 Pickles predictions. So these are my predictions for Game Week 5, and the first one is low-key just out of desperation. Can Villa please score a goal? I'm trying to speak it into existence, okay? I'm manifesting that Villa are finally going to score a goal, especially when I have triple Villa. It's hurting my feelings. So yeah, I just think surely they can't go on this long without scoring a goal, surely. So I'm hoping that this will be an easy one that I get right. Oh, please. But yeah, so that's the first one. And then the second one, I think that there will be a red card in the Merseyside derby. I think that the Liverpool-Everton game is going to be quite an intense one, and I could see a potential sending off here. In terms of which side, I'm not going to specify. I'm just going to keep it a little bit more general. But I think that there could be a spicy red card that happens in that game. So we'll keep an eye out for that one. And then the third and final one is that, unfortunately, I think that Wood is going to blank against Burnley, and I know that's not what you're going to want to hear, and I'd obviously still start him, by the way, if you have him, obviously. But his minutes haven't been great, and Igor Jesus continues to score, and I just worry that, I think he will start, to be fair, but I just worry that he's going to come off early and not get anything. Burnley haven't been too bad defensively either. They're obviously, you know, playing at 5 at the back in very difficult fixtures. And yeah, I could see Forest struggling to get through them. So yeah, again, there's going to be people out there that are not going to want to hear that. But yeah, that's currently what I'm thinking. Let me know if you have any specific predictions for Game Week 5. I'd love to hear them, by the way. Or if there's any that you particularly disagree with, I'd be interested to know that too. So there we have it, guys. That's my Game Week 5 team selection / Pickles preview video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the team, and let me know how you did in Game Week 4 as well. If you did well, if you did terribly, I'd love to know. And if you have any specific strategies in mind for the upcoming game weeks, I'd love to hear those too, because I feel like this season we have seen a lot more diversification in how people are playing, which is exciting, to be fair. So if you have any specific plans in mind, I'd love to hear them. But for now, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye bye.